I wanted to share some explorations with the brass nib from Kakamori in Japan. So this is a very different nib from usual. I've used dip pen nibs for forever, and I generally use what's called a post office nib, which is a pointed nib which has a bit of flex, but it's very much a nib that you have to use in this sort of angle. The design of this one, more like a sort of a bullet shape with all these ridges in it, gives a very different approach. There are a couple of different handles available for it, including this one, and it slots in nicely with a nice firm fit. There's also a metal version and a plain wooden version. It will also fit into the Koh-i-Noor nib holder very, very firmly but nicely. So if you happen to have that, I don't want to push it in all the way immediately. It does go in. It's quite stiff, but it does go in. But it's not so good in the standard speedball nib. It's a bit too loose. Well, in this one anyway. It would just fall out. So it will fit in, but it won't stay in. So that's not going to work. So I'm just going to use the walnut ink from Daniel Smith, which is a sort of a soft brown ink. What's interesting about this pen is it's not about the pressure, it's about the angle. So at a very upright angle, it's going to do finer lines, but as you increase the angle, a bit like a Fude nib, you can increase the width of the lines, which I think is really rather fun. The other area that I think would be very useful to use is with masking fluid. And I also use nibs with watercolour. So I'll take a bit of colour and brush it onto the nib and then draw or paint with that. So the nib takes a little bit more loading with the brush, unless you make enough to dip it right in. But then you can use the same tool with watercolour. It also fits in perfectly in the Japanese nib, the Tachikawa, or the smaller one. So this has the same connector, or very, very similar connector. And so it fits nicely into those. It's a really good fit. This is the Art Spectrum Burnt Sienna, which is a pigmented ink, waterproof once it's dry, and a really lovely colour. I hook my finger underneath to get it at a really steep angle. And it's very easy to wash. This is a good one for travel because you can actually put a cap on it.